of course, there is a lot to discuss here. Stadium, scandal, Negreira scandal as well. I mean, if you look at what's happening off the field for Barcelona, it's really kind of embarrassing. Obviously, we recognize this result, but off the field right now, things are going from bad to worse with Barcelona. I mean, we could get into details, but I want to hear from your point of view exactly what you think about Barcelona off the field right now, forgetting about what happened just on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so many of the questions related to Barca off the field, all come back to the same thing, and that's money. You've got the Negreira scandal, in the background. No surprise to see sort of Barca clapping back and, basically alleging that Tebas has, played some role in that and demanding that he's ousted, given, sort of the power struggle that's been going on between them, in the last, few years, really. But I think, perhaps one of the most worrying things is, this match could be quite historic tonight because it's probably going to be the last Clasico, in the Camp Nou as we know it, before this renovation that's supposed to happen.
Good one to remember.
Yeah, this renovation, Barca still don't know how it's going to be funded and exactly who's going to be redeveloping the stadium. It's wild. So since, those plans were floated, everything has changed. The costs have skyrocketed. All of the original architecture team, completely gone. The permits still haven't been granted. So, this idea that Camp Nou is suddenly going to start being knocked down in the next couple of months is pretty wild, because there's no guarantee at this moment in time. Obviously, you'd expect things to change, but, it's nowhere near, the level it should be right now, this kind of project. And, that I think just reflects everything, that is, not really going right at Barcelona. They're a club trying to go places in a hurry, trying to make up the ground that they've lost over the last couple of years. And if they're not careful, they're going to trip themselves up soon. And this kind of project, could be exactly the thing that, makes them stumble, because, they are, balancing a lot of plates in the air at the moment, notably, on the financial side of things. And it only takes one or two things to go wrong for that to all come collapsing down like a house of cards.
JJ, with Barcelona leading La Liga, with the financial just ruins of this club and the club up in smoke, does that affect the legitimacy of La Liga and their standing in the league in terms of them leading it and maybe becoming champions?
I mean, I think that, there have to be, questions asked of La Liga in the last couple of years based on everything that's been alleged recently. I mean, I said it, I think, a couple of weeks ago as well. I'd also be sort of concerned at whether or not Barca tried to do the same thing in Europe as well. We've seen some dodgy performances, refereeing performances, on the continental stage as well that have benefited Barca. I know that's rich coming from somebody who's followed PSG for all these years, but just saying it was a very, very suspicious refereeing performance that night for, in Barca's favor. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, unfortunately, it kind of takes La Liga and Spanish football into the kind of territory that you have sports like cycling, for example, where you kind of want to believe what you're seeing, and sort of believe in, how organic it is and its legitimacy. But there's always going to be that kind of nagging doubt in the back of your mind, especially when there's these, these controversial issues. And if something, goes Barca's way and you feel like the referee, perhaps could have, given the decision the other way, there will be for quite a while, I think, in most people's minds, that feeling that, that kind of sense of dread, are Barca up to their old tricks again kind of thing.
I also have two questions for all of us. Are we all in agreement that this could be the biggest mismanagement of a top level football club that we've ever heard of or seen?
Oof.
I mean, Chelsea and PSG the last couple of years are providing fairly good competition, but I think when you take into account all of, the kind of meltdown aspects of it, I definitely think Barca are up there as arguably the most mismanaged club of the last, if not 10 years, then at least 5 or so.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
listen, I think that obviously, sorry, Mike, to jump in on you there, but I
go.
think when you think of the stadium situation, as JJ pointed out at the top there, we have no idea whether this is a good thing for Barcelona or not. We have no idea what's happening going forward. Real quickly, before we do move on from the scandal that is taking place, Nigel, I'm coming back to you on this one here. Obviously, UEFA president has stepped in and made some comments about the situation being extremely serious. It's so serious that, in my opinion, it is one of the most serious situations in soccer that I have ever seen. And that, of course, is in response to what's happening with the €7 million payments made to a company owned by former referee committee vice president Jose Maria Enriquez Negreira. Obviously, we get that. Barcelona are expected to make a statement. Laporta is looking to explain in an extraordinary assembly on April 19th. So I'm intrigued to hear what they have to say about the whole situation. But right now, if we watch Barcelona, I only tune in to watch Lewandowski because I'm a fan of Lewandowski. But from the outside looking in at Barcelona right now, even after a performance like that, it is an absolute mess. And we have no idea what could happen with Barcelona. Your thoughts, Nigel?
I agree with you. I think it's an absolute mess. But my other question was going to be to everyone again, is there any justification for any football club to make payments to a company or business that the head of refereeing owns? I just don't think there can be any justification. And the reality of it is, I say it's the biggest mismanagement in football because of the success that they had and the fact of they weren't playing fair and following the rules. I'm not saying that they're not the only club that does that, but a club of Barcelona's magnitude, of all the players that they had, the financial mismanagement, everything that they did, and paying money into an organization owned by the head of the referee, it leaves a disgusting stain for me on your club and all those years of success. So I think it's very serious, the fact of the FIFA president coming out and say that, or the UEFA president coming out and say that they've probably got a lot of evidence that we haven't heard yet or seen, but it does put a stain. And you look at the performance today, it was something that we were going to say is the new start or the new style of Barcelona now without a Lionel Messi, but it's horrible.
Yeah, I think today's result is poetic justice for the off-the-field issues. This is a top-down affair. The fact that you can't even register players, you give Gavi a contract, and it's not clean through the books. You're selling shares. You're selling image rights. You used to be one of the gold standards in European football because of the romanticization of Barcelona. I think that is being tarnished with every day and every second that ticks given this year.
Yeah, one great comment coming in from Vic. He's not happy about the fact that you threw Chelsea in there, the most successful English club in the last 2 decades, in a mismanaged category. He's like, wait a minute, we've made a few mistakes, but we're not mismanaged, says the man who's Frank Lampard sitting in the stands yesterday.
Ian, let's help Vic. Vic, you're 100% right. Chelsea shouldn't be in there because I think for me, Chelsea's more stupidity than actual common sense, while Barcelona knew exactly what they were doing, when they were doing, and they were successful for a long time. So Barcelona was really cheating, while Chelsea was just complete mismanagement and stupidity. How's Modric doing for you, Vic?
Oh, interesting right there. JJ, before we do head to break, I got to touch on the fact that Lionel Messi, the potential return to Barcelona, is clearly there. Everyone's talking about the meeting that's taking place with Barcelona. Can Barcelona get this deal done that they could get him back and finish his career at Barcelona? But realistically, you're the one that's followed Messi the closest over the last couple of years. It's certainly picking up steam that he could move to the Middle East. What's the latest there?
Yeah, I mean, the latest is not encouraging if you're a PSG fan. It doesn't sound like Lionel Messi will be around that much longer. Then again, I'm saying it's not that encouraging if you're a PSG fan, but it's the PSG fans who don't really want Messi continuing beyond the summer. So, it sounds like they're probably going to get what they're hoping for. Personally, I think from the financial point of view, what PSG are looking at ahead of this summer, it makes sense to separate with Messi and Ramos now. That's not to say that Messi's been a flop with PSG. He hasn't. His second season's been much better than the first. But, there's a massive amount of truth in saying that Lionel Messi's first half of the season was a lot better than his second. And too many of the PSG players have been off the ball in the second half of the season after the World Cup. So Messi, based on sort of what you saw Nasser Al-Khelaifi saying publicly, while not saying anything publicly, I think that speaks volumes about how close Messi, is to the PSG exit right now. But the one thing that I would say is, there's that saying, never go back. And I think that rings especially true here. Everything that Messi has and, his kind of legend at Barca was slightly damaged sort of the way that he left the club. Not to say that, he's not considered a club legend. Of course he is. He's one of the biggest legends in modern football, let alone, Barcelona's history. But he would put that in his hands and risk it all if he went back. And I don't think there's any guarantee that will be successful. So I'm not, suggesting that he should take the big money offer from Saudi Arabia, but equally, going back to Barca at this moment in time would be a desperation move from him to stay in Europe, but also from Barca trying to find some way out of this mess that they've created.